woman fires at what she thought was an intruder until she realizes she shot her husband. She tells investigators she didn't know what else to do. She just grabbed the gun like he always told her to. This is what Cheryl Coe wants everyone to believe happened. But was this fatal shooting truly an accident or a dangerous cover-up? Investigators are about to discover that what Cheryl is saying doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up, and the more they dig, the more her story falls apart. From the very beginning, investigators saw red flags everywhere. Then, they learned of an explosive fight that was the key to unlocking the truth. This case is about to take multiple twists as Cheryl's story changes again and again. It's June 23, 2021 in Coweta County, Georgia. Around 7:30 that evening, a 911 call comes in. A woman claims in a terrible accident she shot her husband. Deputies are dispatched to the home of Luke and Cheryl Coe. Inside the couple's bedroom, there was blood everywhere. Luke is clinging to life with a gunshot wound, and Cheryl is hysterical, claiming she thought he was an intruder, but the scene is about to tell a very different story.
Sheriff's office!
Sheriff's office!
We're here.
We're in the bedroom. We're in the master bedroom. Okay, the officer's here.
18291.
Do I need to... Okay, bye.
No, clear, but the next you.
Stop!
She told me to keep pressure on
Yes,
it,
keep
baby.
pressure on it. Keep pressure on it.
Is there anybody else here?
No, it's just
No, sir.
Lay down, lay down.
I know.
Lay down, boy.
Baby, please,
Put
please,
that,
please.
yeah, keep that on there. Keep that on there.
Deputies arrive at the home and immediately locate Luke in the master bedroom. Cheryl is with him, trying to keep pressure on his wounds. She's telling him to keep pressure on it, baby. Officers ask if there's anyone else in the house, and Cheryl confirms it's just them. Luke is lying on the floor, severely injured. Officers are calling for EMS, asking for medical assistance immediately. The situation is critical as responders work to save Luke's life, and Cheryl keeps telling Luke to hang on and not give up.
I know it hurts.
Did you tell him 1018?
Get your aim.
Please.
Gonna clear on their arrival.
172 911. We need 1018 EMS. 1018.
He's having a hard time breathing already. It didn't go through and through. It just went in. 5 millimeters over there. Yeah. Please stop. He's not breathing anymore. Baby, come on. Don't give up for me.
All right, ma'am.
Let's get her out of here.
Ma'am.
Ma'am. Get her, man.
Paramedics arrive and begin working on Luke. Cheryl is becoming increasingly emotional, saying he's not breathing anymore. She's begging him to come on and not give up for her. Officers have to physically remove Cheryl from the room so medical personnel can work. Officers escort Cheryl out of the bedroom while emergency responders continue trying to stabilize Luke. The scene is chaotic with multiple law enforcement and medical personnel trying to save a man's life. Cheryl is sobbing and saying, "Oh God," repeatedly.
Did you get what happened?
12 beer left.
So she had about 5 or 6 beers sitting on the back porch. He's been out in the shop. She had taken a medicine and laid down. He came in yelling about something, and she scared her, so she grabbed the gun and shot him. That doesn't explain why he's nude, and it doesn't explain anything. It makes no sense to me.
You want
me to fill it out or you want to get it? It don't matter to me.
Now watch 12.
EMS gets here, he said, all they need is a stretcher.
Officers begin getting information from Cheryl about what happened. She explains she had about 5 or 6 beers on the back porch. She peed out in the shop, she had taken medicine and gone to bed. Luke came in yelling about something and scared her. One officer immediately notes this doesn't explain why Luke is shot in the bedroom. It doesn't explain anything. It makes no sense to the responding deputies. They're trying to piece together how this shooting occurred. But Cheryl's initial explanation raises more questions than answers.
Oh God, please help me. Please help me. Oh God, please.
160, get us off that one as well.
Oh God, please. Oh my God. Please God help him! Oh God! Oh my God!
What did it happen?
In
In the bedroom.
Set it up right here.
That's fine.
Oh please!
Oh, we didn't even put the tape up, Gay. I got it right here, Doris. Okay.
Please help him!
Go ahead.
Right there. I think.
Good enough. Or you mean son? Yeah, or right here.
No, that's Gabe.
Okay.
Please help him! Please help him!
You want to sign that?
Oh God! Oh my God!
12 now, I'll start that.
God, please!
Hey, Doris, can you grab that Crapsy tape on one of those rolls?
Ma'am, come over here. Come over here, ma'am.
Let's
You need to take her on out.
Yeah, let's go down by the trucks.
Come on.
Go down by the trucks.
Cheryl is outside the home as paramedics work on Luke inside. She's extremely distraught, asking please help him. Oh God, please. She keeps asking where it happened, and officers tell her the bedroom. She's pleading for them to help her husband. Officers are setting up crime scene tape and securing the area. Cheryl keeps saying, oh my God, and oh please God, help him. She appears completely hysterical as emergency responders work to save Luke's life. But deputies are already noticing inconsistencies.
Well, they're coming up now.
Hey, can y'all move?
And I'll grab whatever we need. You need me to move my car?
Come in with me!
No, we can't go in. We can't go in.
Where the hell
We cannot go in. We can't go in, okay?
Oh God, please!
Why don't you just have a seat over here?
Please!
Just have a seat.
Oh, please! Why are they all out here?
No. No.
What?
No.
Why are they all
Come on.
out here? Where is he?
You want a chair? You want a
Where
chair?
is he?
What?
Where is he?
You want a chair?
No! I just want to know what's going on with my husband.
I think you already know what's going on.
No, I don't! Why are they all out here? Oh my God! He was breathing when I was holding the towel on him. What happened?
Officers try to keep Cheryl away from the scene so they can properly process the evidence. They escort her down by the trucks away from the house. Cheryl asks why they are all here. She wants to know where Luke is and what's going on with her husband. One officer tells Cheryl he thinks she already knows what's going on. Cheryl says no, she doesn't, and asks why everyone is there. She says Luke was breathing when she was holding pressure on his wound. She can't believe this is happening. Luke was still alive in the bedroom when deputies first arrived, but officials say his injuries claimed his life. Paramedics worked desperately to save him, but the gunshot wounds were too severe. Luke died the scene, leaving investigators to figure out exactly what happened.
My name's Robbie. Can we take your blood pressure and stuff? Check on you? Can we do that?
I'm not worried about me right now.
Do what?
I'm just worried about him. I'm not worried about me right now.
I know, but just let us check you real quick, okay? Do you have any medical problems, diabetes, seizures, anything like that?
I have migraines, and that's the reason that I took my medicine before I went to bed.
Okay, what do you take for your migraines?
Clonopin and Phenergan, and I'm going through menopause, so I'm on progesterone and estradiol.
Okay. Here, one of my guys is going to take your blood pressure, okay? I got to put your cuff around your arm.
Can I turn this off?
I would.
Okay.
I can't hold it up. My life is gone. Oh, shit. Oh, God. Oh, God.
You're at 1691 status.
That's right. That's why I haven't turned it off yet. Okay. Not a problem. You got it?
Try to relax that arm so you can feel.
Paramedics check on Cheryl, asking to take her blood pressure and vitals. Cheryl says she's not worried about herself right now. She's just worried about Luke. Medical personnel want to make sure she's okay, given the traumatic situation. They ask if Cheryl has any medical problems, like diabetes or seizures. Cheryl explains she has migraines, which is why she took her medicine before going to bed. She lists the medications she's on, including progesterone and estradiol for menopause. Deputies appeared pretty suspicious of Cheryl's behavior. One deputy noted spending an hour outside with her but not seeing a single tear. This is a major red flag because Cheryl is claiming to have accidentally shot her husband, yet shows no genuine emotional response.
Cheryl. Hey, let's give me a cigarette. Look here, come here. Sit up for me. Come on. Sit up. Sit up. Let's walk up here for us. Come on, stand up.
Yep.
Okay. My name's Gary, okay? I'm with the coroner's office, okay? And this is Shauna. She's with the sheriff's office. Listen to me, hon. You need to listen to me. Sit up. We know what's going on already, okay? So, tell me, is your name Cheryl Coe?
Yes.
Okay. How old are you, Cheryl?
51.
51?
Eventually, Cheryl has to be pulled off the ground so investigators can understand what happened. They need to get a formal statement from her about the events leading up to the shooting. A coroner and investigator sit down with Cheryl to get her account. The investigator introduces himself and tells Cheryl to listen. He says they know what's going on already. He asks Cheryl to confirm her identity and age. She's 51 years old and confirms the man inside is her husband.
Just start with where were you before you saw him?
I came home from work.
At what time?
It was like 5:30, something like that, because I had to go make some stops in Newton.
Uh-huh.
He was out in the shop. His son was here. They were out working on his panhead.
Where you work, Cheryl?
Piedmont Fayette.
Huh?
Piedmont Fayette.
Piedmont Fayette.
What do you do there?
I'm a patient access team lead now.
Okay.
I've been there for 27 years.
So you got home about 5:30, right?
I got home about
was in the
5:30.
shop.
He was in the shop.
Okay. And then what happened?
He and I have not really talked since yesterday.
Were y'all fighting?
We had a disagreement.
Okay.
He came home while I was on the porch yesterday, took his bike and loaded off and went away, and he didn't come home till sometime after midnight. I don't know when.
Last night?
And I had my gun on the nightstand because I was here by myself. Both the kids have moved out, and I'm here by myself. And I don't even know if we have a key to these doors. He doesn't believe in locking doors. And
You don't keep this door locked at all?
no, not at all. He said he doesn't believe in it. So I don't even know where the keys are. I don't even know if we have a key to the
Okay.
house. We just got the house back from his ex-wife 2.5 years ago. Not even 2.5 years ago.
The investigator asks Cheryl to tell him what happened that evening, starting with where she was before she saw Luke. Cheryl explains she came home from work around 5:30 after making some stops. Luke was out in the shop with his son working on a motorcycle. Cheryl works at Piedmont Fayette as a patient access team lead. She's been there for 27 years, she got home about 5:30, and Luke was in the shop. The investigator asks what happened next, and that's when Cheryl drops a bombshell. She reveals that she and Luke haven't really talked since yesterday. They disagreed. Luke came home while Cheryl was on the porch, took his bike and loaded it up, and went away. He didn't come home until sometime after midnight.
I'm sorry, I have dry mouth syndrome, and
Right.
my lips are sticking to my
You
teeth.
need a glass of water or something?
Please. Please. So, we were going to talk tonight.
What,
But he
tell me,
stayed out in the
What were y'all
shop.
disagreeing about?
We were disagreeing about something yesterday that had occurred, that has occurred before.
What? So was somebody else? Somebody else involved?
Cheryl explains she had her gun on the nightstand because she was home by herself, both the kids have moved out, and she's alone in the house. She says she doesn't even know if they have keys to the doors because Luke doesn't believe in locking doors. Luke doesn't believe in locking doors at all. According to Cheryl, she doesn't even know where the keys are or if they have keys to the house. They just got the house back from Luke's ex-wife 2.5 years ago. Cheryl mentions she has dry mouth syndrome and her lips are sticking to her teeth. Officers get her water as she continues explaining what led up to the shooting. The tension between her and Luke is becoming clear.
So I had to open the Women's Imaging Center.
Okay. And he was asleep?
And he was still asleep. We didn't talk all day. And he sent me a text at 3 o'clock and told me he was ready to talk. And I told him I wasn't sure if I was. And that I'd be home when I got home. And maybe we could talk then. He stayed out in the shop when I got home. I came in. I drank several Angry Orchards.
What time did you come in?
About 5:30.
You came in back into the... Oh, you
No,
came in
I
from
came
work.
home
Okay.
from
I got
work
you. Okay.
at about 5:30.
Okay.
I didn't see
I
him.
got you.
I didn't see him when I got home.
Okay.
I heard him and the music playing out there.
I got you.
And his son was here. And his son came in and came to the garage and asked me to put the wild turkey back in the freezer because he had asked for a shot and couldn't find the glass. So I put the wild turkey back in the freezer. I put the groceries up. I went out and I got an Angry Orchard and I sat on the back porch. I always sit on the back porch every day because I'm in a mask for 8 hours a day. And I always sit out there and have a few beers. I have a few Captain Morgan's and Dr. Pepper, or Angry Orchard is what I had tonight. I had those.
Cheryl says they were going to talk that night, but Luke stayed out in the shop. When asked what they were disagreeing about, Cheryl is vague. She says it was about something that occurred yesterday that had occurred before, something involving somebody else. The investigator asks if someone else was involved, and Cheryl says not particularly. She's being evasive about the details of their argument. This morning, Luke was asleep when Cheryl left for work. They were in the same bed but didn't talk. Cheryl left at 6:30 in the morning to open the Women's Imaging Center. Luke was still asleep. They didn't talk all day until Luke sent Cheryl a text at 3 saying he was ready to talk. Cheryl told him she wasn't sure if she was and that maybe they could talk when she got home.
He was still out in the shop. I decided I needed to go to bed because I have to open tomorrow. And I went in and I took my medicine.
What time?
I don't even know what time it was when I took it.
Well, what time did you go to bed?
Probably about 6:30, 7 o'clock is when I got into bed. Probably took the medicine about 6:30 because I brushed my teeth. I took my medicine and I brushed my teeth. And then I got into bed.
What kind of medicine did you take?
I take Klonopin and I took a Phenergan. And
What are you taking the Phenergan for?
the Phenergan I take for my migraines. And I took my progesterone, which is my hormones.
What do you take the Klonopin for?
The Klonopin I take because I can't sleep through the night, and it helps me go to sleep. I can't turn my brain off, so it helps me go to sleep.
All right.
I took that and I got into bed and I turned the TV on because I was in there by myself. And
When Cheryl got home around 5:30, Luke stayed out in the shop. Cheryl came inside and drank several Angry Orchards. She heard Luke and music playing outside. His son came and asked her to put the wild turkey back in the freezer. Cheryl put the groceries away and sat on the back porch like she always does. She's in a mask for 8 hours a day at work, so she always sits outside and has a few beers. She had Angry Orchards that night. Luke was still out in the shop, so Cheryl decided she needed to go to bed because she had to open the imaging center the next morning. She went inside and took her medicine around 6:30. She brushed her teeth and got in bed.
when I'm by myself, I feel better with the TV on. He was still out here. I fell asleep, and then I heard somebody come in the door yelling, and I just reached over on my nightstand and grabbed my gun because that was the only thing I needed to do.
You know what time that was?
I have no idea.
So you grabbed your gun, and then what?
I shot twice, and I figured out it was him after I shot him, and he told me I had shot him.
Cheryl lists the medications she took: Klonopin to help her sleep because she can't turn her brain off, Phenergan for migraines, and progesterone, which is her hormone medication. She probably got in bed around 6:30 or 7 after taking the medicine. She turned the TV on because she was in the bedroom by herself and felt better with the TV on when she was alone. Luke was still outside in the shop. Cheryl fell asleep, and then she heard somebody come in the door, yelling. Cheryl says she just reached over to her nightstand and grabbed her gun because that was the only thing she knew to do. This is where her story about thinking Luke was an intruder begins.
Did you see him?
The bedroom door was, no, the bedroom door was closed. I had blackout curtains on the windows.
Were there
No,
lights on?
no.
Was the TV still on at that
The
point?
TV was still on, but I couldn't, all the doors were closed. I have blackout curtains on the windows because of my migraines. And I was
So
asleep.
were you in the bed?
I was in the bed.
And where was he?
He was in the doorway.
He was standing in the doorway?
He was standing in the doorway.
So that door was open, right?
No, it wasn't. It was closed when I went to bed.
But I'm saying it was open.
It
when
was
he
swung
standing.
open.
Okay.
And that, I mean, I didn't know what else to do. I just grabbed the gun like he's always told me to.
And then what happened after that? He said what did he say? He said you
I shot the gun twice. And the second time he said I shot him. And I realized it was him when I heard him speak. And I grabbed the towels and tried to figure out where I had shot him. And then I called 911 and they told me to put the towels where it was. I couldn't see where it came out anywhere. So I put pressure on it like they told me to, and they told me that if it got too full of blood to put another towel on it, so I grabbed another towel and put it on it. He was breathing. He needed a chest tube. I know that. He was breathing, but I told them to hurry when they got here. I told them he needed a chest tube because it was stuck in his lung, and he was talking to me, and he was talking to me when they came in.
Cheryl claims she has no idea what time the door opened. She grabbed the gun and shot twice. She figured out it was Luke after she shot him, and he told her she had shot him. The investigator asks if Cheryl saw Luke. Cheryl says no. The bedroom door was closed. She had blackout curtains on the windows because of her migraines. The TV was still on, but all the doors were closed, so she couldn't see anything clearly. The investigator asks where Cheryl was and where Luke was. Cheryl says she was in the bed, and Luke was in the doorway. He was standing in the doorway. The investigator clarifies that the door was open then. Cheryl says no, the door was closed when she went to bed, but it swung open when Luke came in. She says she didn't know what else to do, so she just grabbed the gun like Luke always told her to. This is supposed to explain why she immediately shot without identifying who entered. Cheryl describes what happened after the shooting. Luke said she shot him after the second shot. That's when Cheryl realized it was Luke when she heard him speak. She grabbed towels and tried to figure out where she shot him. Cheryl called 911 and they told her to put towels where the wound was. She couldn't see where the bullet came out, so she put pressure on it as dispatch instructed. When the towel got too full of blood, she grabbed another one.
Do you understand each of these rights as I've explained them to you? Okay. Having these rights in mind, do you wish to talk to us?
I've talked to him.
I know. And that was just kind of just talking to you in the beginning. But now we kind of just have some other questions for you too.
Luke was breathing and talking to Cheryl when paramedics arrived. Cheryl told them Luke needed a chest tube because the bullet was stuck in his lung and affecting his breathing. It was a wild story, but for detectives, the dots still weren't connecting. Investigators believed Cheryl made a lot of inconsistent statements. The timeline didn't make sense. The story about not recognizing Luke didn't add up, and there were too many problems with her account of what happened that night. On June 24th, a day after the shooting, Cheryl was brought to the police station for another interview. But this time she was Mirandized, meaning she was read her rights, and this was now a custodial interrogation.
Okay.
I have the right to answer them and not answer them correct.
That's correct.
I answer what I can.
Okay. All right, Cheryl. So, I know you told me about yesterday, and the events leading up yesterday until tonight. But if we can back it up, I guess, and start from Monday, just kind of go through your routine with me. Just kind of tell me, take me through your day, starting from when you first wake up until you go to work, come home.
I'm usually up about 5:30. Get up, get ready for work. Luke had gone to the gym Monday, I think. Yeah, he went to the gym Monday. No, he didn't go to the gym Monday. He went to the gym yesterday. Tuesday, whatever day that was. Anyway, I woke him up when I was getting ready to leave for work because he's self-employed, so he doesn't really have to do a whole lot like I do to get ready. So he just gets up, jumps in the shower, and grabs a cup of coffee, and will fix his breakfast or whatever, and talk to me on the phone on the way to work.
Detectives confirm Cheryl understands her rights and ask if she wishes to talk to them. Cheryl agrees to answer what she can. Investigators want to back up the timeline and start from Monday before the shooting. They ask Cheryl to take them through her routine, starting from when she wakes up until she goes to work and comes home. Cheryl explains she's usually up about 5:30 to get ready for work. Cheryl says Luke had gone to the gym on Monday, then corrects herself, saying he didn't go on Monday, he went on Tuesday. She woke Luke up when she was getting ready to leave for work because he's self-employed, so he doesn't have to do as much to get ready.
We had a normal conversation for us on the way to work on Monday. I went in and opened the Women's Imaging Center and
for the first hour I'm by myself, so it's like I'm slammed with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it dies down, I'll usually text him and text other people that I talk to, good morning. You know, I'm sure I texted him that day because I was making plans for the week. And he disagreed with my plans for the week. He said it made his stomach turn. And I said, okay. I was asking, I wasn't telling, I was asking permission.
Luke would jump in the shower, grab coffee, fix breakfast, and talk to Cheryl on the phone on her way to work. They had a normal conversation on Monday morning. Cheryl went in and opened the Women's Imaging Center. For the first hour, Cheryl is by herself, so she's slammed with work. When it dies down, she'll usually text Luke and other people good morning. She's sure. She texted him that day because she was making plans for the week. This is where things get interesting. Luke disagreed with Cheryl's plans for the week and said it made his stomach turn. Cheryl said okay, she was asking, not telling. She was asking permission about something. Now, one thing to know about Luke and Cheryl is that about a year before the shooting, they made a decision that appeared to change the course of their marriage. They opened up their relationship to others, but the arrangement would spark some tension between them. This included a huge fight in the days leading up to the shooting that would prove to be critical to understanding what really happened that night. Cheryl had messaged Luke about meeting up with someone, and Luke shot that down.
And he kind of shot that down.
Mm-hmm. I was like, okay. Because it was a question. It wasn't I wasn't telling him I was going to do it. I was asking him if it was okay with him and what day would be okay with him.
Did you always have to ask him if it was okay, or did you guys have any rules? Or
yeah, we had a lot of rules. Over a year's time, we worked out a lot of rules, but we always got to those rules because of some type of issue or something, and that's the reason Monday I was just like, let's just don't do this anymore, because it seems like every time we get into a heated discussion, and by no means have we ever laid our hands on each other or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But every time we would get into an argument or a heated discussion about it, it had to do with that part of it.
Now, did he ever have to ask you for permission to?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it wasn't just one-sided.
Mm-hmm. No. It was. I mean, he would plan something, and then he would be like, have you got anything going on that day? Are you okay with this? And that would be it.
So if you said no, would he not do it, or would he follow through with it?
No, he would not do it. Just like he told me no, and I was okay with that. I said okay. But when he told me that it kind of made his stomach turn, I was like, that's when I told him, I said, let's just don't do it anymore.
Cheryl explains it was a question, not a statement. She wasn't telling Luke she was going to do it. She was asking if it was okay with him and what day would work. Detectives ask if Cheryl always had to ask Luke or if they had. Rules. Cheryl says they had a lot of rules that they worked out over a year. They got to those rules because of issues or problems that came up. That's why on Monday, Cheryl suggested they just don't do this anymore. It seemed like every time they got into a heated discussion, it had to do with that part of their relationship. Cheryl emphasizes that by no means have they ever laid hands on each other, but every argument related to the open relationship arrangement. Detectives ask if Luke ever had to ask Cheryl for permission or if it was one-sided. Cheryl confirms no, it wasn't one-sided. Luke would plan something and ask if Cheryl had anything going on and if she was okay with it.
He knows this person that you were messaging with, and you knew the person he was messaging with.
Yes.
If Cheryl said no, Luke wouldn't do it. Just like when Luke told Cheryl no, she accepted it. But when Luke told her, it kind of made his stomach turn. That's when Cheryl said, let's just not do it anymore. Detectives ask if Luke knew the person Cheryl was messaging with and if Cheryl knew who Luke was. Seeing Cheryl confirms yes, this conversation sparked a cold war between them that night. They slept on opposite sides of the bed. When Cheryl woke up, she just went to work like normal. They were supposed to have a conversation about it later that night, but things changed when Cheryl returned home. She drank about 5 Angry Orchards, took her medicine, watched TV, and dozed off. Then Cheryl remembered the door flinging open, But when investigators looked at the 911 call logs, that was another major clue. Officials say there was about an 11-minute time gap between when Cheryl claimed she went to sleep and when she called 911. Meaning, within 11 minutes, Cheryl had to fall asleep, hear an intruder, shoot the so-called intruder, realize it's her husband, and dial 911, all within 11 minutes. This timeline simply doesn't add up.
And it's still light outside. And so even if you had blackout curtains in your bedroom, the light from all of those windows would have shone through your bedroom window. So then that, coupled with the television being there, a person would recognize that their husband of 4 years and the partner of 6, especially if they're speaking, yelling, angry. And earlier you said you fired these 2 shots at this figure, hoping that he would hear you, and come help you in the home. But you've also described. Yes, but you said that you fired these shots so that he could hear you out in the shop where he was playing music so loud. And you just described going into the bedroom to a place where you didn't hear the music anymore. And so I'm having trouble making sense of how both you say you couldn't recognize even the silhouette of your husband through the door when all this light is shining through, and who is speaking to you, yelling at you, and then you would fire 2 shots in a room where you say you couldn't hear the music from the shop. Why would he be able to hear gunshots from inside that room? So help me understand that.
Well, I mean, we've had people be able to hear gunshots down.
Detectives confront Cheryl with the problems in her story. They point out she has that beautiful home with all those windows and it's still light outside at 7:15 in June. Even with blackout curtains, the light from all the windows would shine through. Coupled with the television being on, a person would recognize their husband of 4 years and partner of 6, especially if they're speaking and yelling and angry. Cheryl claims she couldn't see who it was, but that doesn't make sense given the lighting. Detectives also note Cheryl said earlier she fired 2 shots so Luke would hear her and come help from the shop where he was playing loud music, but Cheryl also described going into the bedroom where she didn't hear the music anymore.
The road when we were practicing, so I mean, I really, honestly, I wasn't thinking it through. I'd had too much to drink. I'd added my Klonopin with it, and I didn't know what I was hearing. I heard the door slam open, and I couldn't. I was asleep. I couldn't focus on anything. All I knew was my gun was right here. Because it was there I put it there last night when he was gone.
And then let me ask you this, because you said you went to bed at 7:15, correct?
Sometime around that.
Okay. And you called 911 at 7:26, correct? That's what the call screen says, that you called 911, okay? So that means that you were asleep for approximately 11 minutes. Okay?
If you fell asleep immediately.
If you fell asleep immediately. So 7:15 to 7:26, that's 11 minutes for someone to fall asleep so heartedly that they don't.
Investigators are having trouble understanding how Cheryl says she couldn't recognize even the silhouette of her husband through the door when all this light is shining through and he's speaking to her and yelling at her. Then Cheryl fired 2 shots in a room where she says she couldn't hear the music from the shop, so why would Luke be able to hear gunshots from inside that room if the music was so loud? Detectives ask Cheryl to help them understand that. Cheryl responds that she'd had too much to drink, she had added Klonopin with the alcohol, and she just didn't know what she was hearing. She heard the door slam open, but she was asleep and couldn't focus on anything.
Know what's going on, or the door's slung open, and the first thing that you do is reach for your gun and fire off 2 rounds. So
I had too much to drink.
Okay. So when I talked to you previously, you stated that somebody slung that door open and they were shouting and screaming. And remember, I asked you, you didn't recognize if it was your husband's voice or not. And what did you say? Do you remember what you said to me?
At this point, no, I don't.
Okay. You had said that you were too dazed, and didn't really know who was screaming and yelling or what they were saying. So now you're telling us that somebody slung open the door and didn't say anything until you fired the second shot, and then he said, "You shot me." And then you realized that it was your husband.
All Cheryl knew was that her gun was right there on the nightstand because she put it there the night before when Luke was gone. Detectives point out that Cheryl said she went to bed at 7:15 and called 911 at 7:26. That means Cheryl was asleep for approximately 11 minutes if she fell asleep immediately. That's 11 minutes for someone to fall asleep so hard they don't know what's going on, and the first thing they do when a door opens is reach for a gun and fire 2 rounds. Cheryl explains she had too much to drink. Detectives remind her that when they talked previously, Cheryl stated somebody slung the door open and they were shouting and screaming. They asked if she recognized her husband's voice.
Okay.
He was yelling and throwing things and grabbed a hold of me and told me if I wasn't going to talk to him that I had to go sleep in the other room, and he was pulling me out of the bed and
Cheryl said at the time she was too dazed and didn't really know who was screaming and yelling or what they were saying, but now she's telling detectives somebody slung open the door and didn't say anything until she fired the second shot. Then Luke said, "You shot me," and that's when Cheryl realized it was her husband. The story keeps changing, and detectives are pointing out every inconsistency, with the cracks showing that Cheryl ran out of options.
I grabbed the gun from the side of the bed and I fired it at the ceiling.
Okay. Was that kind of a warning shot, or?
No, that was, I'm scared because he scares me sometimes, especially when he's been drinking. And I don't know whether he'd been drinking or not. And that was, they were both supposed to be warning shots. One was at the ceiling and one was at the wall on the other side. I wasn't trying to hit him.
Okay.
Finally, Cheryl admits the truth. Luke came in and the door opened and he was yelling at her. He was throwing things and grabbed hold of Cheryl. He told her if she wasn't going to talk to him, she had to go sleep in the other room. Luke was pulling Cheryl out of the bed, and that's when she grabbed the gun from the side of the bed and fired at the ceiling. Detectives ask if that was a warning shot, and Cheryl says no, that was because she was scared. Luke scares Cheryl, sometimes, especially when he's been drinking, and she doesn't know if he'd been drinking that night. Both shots were supposed to be warning shots according to Cheryl. One was at the ceiling and one was at the wall on the other side.
Okay. So where was he when you fired the second shot?
Still, he had turned around and come back in the doorway.
Turned around from where?
From the kitchen doorway, from the doorway. He was still in this area right here.
Okay, so you had already fired the first shot, correct?
I fired the first shot.
Okay.
And then he started moving back, like he was coming back in there to drag me out of there. So I fired the second shot, and I was trying to shoot the wall. I was never trying to shoot him. And that's why when he said I hit him, I had no idea where I could have hit him.
Mm-hmm. Were you standing, or were you still in the bed when you were firing the rounds?
By the time I shot the second one, I was standing.
Cheryl claims she wasn't trying to hit Luke. Detectives ask where Luke was when she fired the second shot. Cheryl says he had turned around and come back in the doorway. He turned around from the doorway. Luke was still in the doorway when Cheryl fired the first shot. Then he started moving back like he was coming back in to drag Cheryl out, so she fired the second shot. She says she was trying to shoot the wall and never tried to shoot Luke. That's why when Luke said she hit him, Cheryl had no idea where she could have hit him. Detectives ask if Cheryl was standing or still in bed when firing the rounds. By the time she shot the second one, she was standing.
Okay.
Where were you standing? If you're in bed is there in your little nightstand. Where were you standing in the room?
Right here.
Okay.
On this map.
Alright, so when you fired the first shot that went over his head, was he trying to leave the room, or what was he doing at that point in time when you had fired that shot?
He was going after something. And I don't know what he was going after.
Did he say anything to you?
He was mad, and he was screaming and yelling at me and telling me to get my ass out of that bed and go sleep in the other bed if I wasn't going to talk to it, if I wasn't going to get up and talk. At that point, I wasn't where I could get up and talk. I'd gotten past that point. It was senseless for us to talk at that point. And I was feeling nauseous. That's why I took the Phenergan on top of the Klonopin. And I just wanted to be left alone. And he wasn't having it. And he was dragging me out of the bed.
Okay. So the gun was on the nightstand, correct? When he was in the room?
Yes.
Okay.
And why was he naked?
I don't know.
Cheryl was standing on Luke's side of the bed when she fired the second shot. When she fired the first shot that went over Luke's head, he was going after something, though Cheryl doesn't know what. Luke was mad and screaming and yelling at Sherry, telling her to get her ass out of that bed and go sleep in the other bed if she wasn't going to talk to him. Cheryl says that at that point, she wasn't in a condition where she could get up and talk. She'd gotten past that point. It was senseless for them to talk then, and she was feeling nauseous. That's why she took Phenergan on top of the Klonopin. She just wanted to be left alone, but Luke wasn't having it and was dragging her out of bed.
It could be because he was working on the greasy bike. A lot of times he'll take his clothes off in the laundry room when he comes in so that he doesn't bring them into the house. Sometimes if he's really hot, he'll take his clothes off and jump in the pool. And then come in. And the way that I saw when I went out there to get my flip-flops, the way that I saw all of his stuff lined up on that table is what he does with it when he decides to go jump in the pool. And he takes off his clothes and jumps in the pool.
Okay. How did you know all of his stuff was lined up out there when you said that you had gone to bed before he came in the room?
When we got ready to leave, they took me out there to get my flip-flops.
Okay.
And that's when I saw all of his stuff lined up on the
Okay.
Detectives ask a critical question. Why was Luke naked when this happened? Cheryl says she doesn't know. It could be because he was working on the greasy motorcycle. A lot of times, Luke takes his clothes off in the laundry room, so he doesn't bring them into the house. Sometimes if Luke is really hot, he'll take his clothes off and jump in the pool, then come inside. When Cheryl went outside to get her flip-flops, she saw all of Luke's stuff lined up on the table, which is what he does when he decides to jump in the pool. Detectives point out that Cheryl said she'd gone to bed before Luke came in the room, so how did she know his stuff was lined up outside? Cheryl explains that when they took her out to get her flip-flop, that's when she saw all his stuff lined up. Cheryl left officials no choice but to charge her. She faced charges including murder, felony murder, and aggravated assault. The evidence was mounting against her version of events, even with this new admission. When the case went to trial, prosecutors revealed the medical examiner found muzzle compressions around Luke's bullet wounds, which suggested the gun might have been pressed directly on Luke's body, which doesn't match any of Cheryl's versions of events. Cheryl claimed to fire from a distance, either thinking Luke was an intruder or firing warning shots, but muzzle compression means the gun was touching or very close to Luke's body when fired. This physical evidence contradicted everything Cheryl said. By early spring of 2025, nearly 4 years after the fatal shooting, Cheryl went on trial, according to Coweta County prosecutors. Cheryl got on the stand and told yet another story of what happened that night. In March, when the jury came back deadlocked, they couldn't reach a unanimous verdict, so a mistrial was declared. Cheryl would have to face a second trial for the murder of her husband, Luke. During Cheryl's second trial, prosecutors say she admitted under cross-examination to lying to the jury in her first trial and lying under oath. This was devastating to her credibility as a defendant. She'd already changed her story multiple times to police. Now she was admitting she lied to the first jury while testifying under oath. The second jury heard all the evidence, including the multiple versions of events Cheryl told, the timeline problems, and the medical evidence. About muzzle compression. They heard about the fight over the open relationship, about Luke coming home after midnight the night before, about Cheryl drinking heavily and taking medication before the shooting, about the 11-minute window that made her story impossible. The second time around, a Coweta County jury found Cheryl guilty of murder plus aggravated assault. They rejected her claims of self-defense or accident, and they believed she intentionally shot Luke during their domestic dispute that night. When it came time for sentencing, it was life in prison without the chance of parole. Cheryl would spend the rest of her life behind bars for killing Luke. She'd never walk free again. Luke Coe died in his bedroom from gunshot wounds inflicted by his wife of 4 years. He was dragged into a confrontation with Cheryl over their troubled open relationship. What started as an argument ended with Luke being shot twice. Cheryl's story changed multiple times. First, Luke was an intruder she couldn't see in the dark. Then he was her husband who came in yelling, so she fired warning shots. The truth seems to be somewhere in between all her versions of events. What's clear is that Cheryl grabbed a gun during an argument with her husband and fired twice. One shot struck Luke fatally. Medical evidence showed the gun was pressed against or very close to Luke's body when fired. This wasn't random shots in the dark at an unknown intruder. The 11-minute window between Cheryl going to bed and calling 911 made her original story impossible. She couldn't have fallen deeply asleep, been woken by an intruder, fired shots, realized it was Luke, and called for help all in 11 minutes. Detectives saw through the inconsistencies immediately. One deputy noted spending an hour with Cheryl outside the house and not seeing a single tear despite her husband dying inside. Her emotional displays appeared performative rather than genuine. The fight over the open relationship was the key to understanding what happened. Luke had rejected Cheryl's plans to meet with someone and told her it made his stomach turn. This led to them not speaking and sleeping on opposite sides of the bed. The next evening, when Luke tried to force Cheryl to talk with him by dragging her out of bed, she made a fatal decision to grab the gun. Whether she intentionally aimed at Luke or fired recklessly doesn't change the outcome. Luke lost his life in his own bedroom, shot by the woman he'd been with for 6 years and married for 4. Cheryl claimed she loved him and was scared when she fired, but the jury believed she murdered him during their domestic dispute. Online records reveal that Cheryl Coe is serving her sentence in the McRae Women's Facility in Georgia. She'll spend the rest of her life there for the murder of Luke Coe, her husband, who died on their bedroom floor while she held pressure on his wounds. The case shows how domestic disputes can escalate to deadly violence in moments, how alcohol and medication can impair judgment with fatal consequences, and how constantly changing stories only dig a deeper hole for suspects trying to cover up what really happened.